is the meaning of this. And this is a very mysterious symbol, which, you've heard all sorts of explanations for it, but I'm going to give you the Masonic Illuminati inner meaning of what this means tonight. And it's going to probably gross you out and astonish you, and I apologize in advance for that. But this is what it means. Crowley reveals the secret behind the all-seeing eye symbol in one of his books, the Book of Thoth, which is a very advanced manual on tarot card readings. And this is the eye of Lucifer.
And by the time the council came to a close, they had three major policies that were going to be followed. First, they were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist. And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven. He says there was a misunderstanding in the whole thing. He says among the inhabitants of the galaxies. And he says our master was misunderstood. And through these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He is going to abdicate all claims to the planet. Because the high priest once said that Christ will abdicate all claim to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's.
So the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now hindereth will hinder until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked one be revealed, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Where is this guy coming from? From out of the Abusa. So he's not just some political leader that happens to be kind of gifted. No, this guy is empowered by Satan himself.
I will ascend into heaven. Number 2, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Number 3, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation. Number 4, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. Number 5, I will be like the Most High. That is Lucifer's 5-point plan of what he said he's going to do. And notice, how many points do we have on this star? He said this, the pentagram, quote, has one use only. And that is to call up the power of Satan and bring the kingdom of the devil into manifestation on the earth. So whenever a pentagram is used, it is probably the highest satanic ceremony that can be used to bring in the kingdom and the power of Satan.
He said, go to the word for 666.
Did you hear that? Listen carefully. It says, I want to live it backwards, like the Zep, whose power is Satan. Did you hear that? Then it says, he will give you 666.
former head of the FBI, Los Angeles, California, retired in 1979. A gentleman came up and gave me a book. He said, Ted, in fact, that lecture was specifically on the McDonald case. Ted, here's what it's all about. Take this book and read it. And this is the book, folks. It's called Pawns in the Game. In 1776, Weishaupt organized the Illuminati and put the plot into execution. The word Illuminati is derived from Lucifer and means holders of the light. Using the lie that his objective was to bring about a one-world government, to enable men with proven mental ability to govern the world, he recruited about 2,000 followers. These included the most intelligent men in the field of arts and letters, education, the sciences, finance, and industry. He then established lodges of the Grand Orient to be their secret headquarters. Weishaupt's revised plan required his Illuminati to do the following things to help them accomplish their purpose. 1. Use monetary and sex bribery to obtain control of people already occupying positions in high places in the various levels of all governments and other fields of human endeavor. Once an influential person had fallen for the lies, deceits, and temptations of the Illuminati, they were to be held in bondage by application of political and other forms of blackmail and threats of financial ruin, public exposure, and physical harm, and even death to themselves and their loved ones. Number 6, the power of our resources must remain invisible until the very moment when it has gained the strength that no cunning or force can undermine it. And if you will notice, it's been a very few people know about the Illuminati, so they have maintained their invisibility until most recently. Number 7, advocated mob psychology to obtain control of the masses. Number 8, used alcohol, drugs, to moral corruption, and all forms of vice to systematically corrupt the youth of the nation.
You have all the money in the world you need. You have all the power you need. What's the point? What's the end goal? And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole society.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger, for we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers in only different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels. The Master's grain plane for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, and after we expressed ourselves, we were deeply interested to know more about the activities of spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grain plane is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it.
Masonic mind control, that the alchemical managers have bred over a millennia, over 1,000 years. They said they bred a human race that is most wretched, stupid, and ignorant. It's so unrivaled in thousands of years. He said these blind slaves say they are free and highly educated, even as they march behind, notice this word, signs. Have you ever taken time to analyze a sign or a billboard or a logo? He says a medieval peasant would have run away in panic-stricken terror from the signs that modern man embraces.
You know the vowels.
Just answer the question.
Well, I mean, I just had to learn how to pronounce it. I mean, it hasn't been a living spoken language in more than 1,000 years. I mean, look at this. It says, a traveler from distant stars escaped from a dying world looking for a way to extend his own life. His body decaying and weak, he couldn't prevent his own demise. Apparently his whole species was becoming extinct. So he traveled or searched the galaxies looking for a way to cheat death. And, look here. He came to a world rich with life, where he encountered a primitive race, humans. A species which, with all his powers and knowledge, he could maintain indefinitely. He realized within a human body he had a chance for a new life. Now, he apparently found a young boy. It says, as the frightened villagers ran, night became day. Curious and without fear, he walked towards the light. Ra took him and possessed his body like some kind of a parasite looking for a host. And inhabiting this human form, he appointed himself ruler. He used the Stargate to bring thousands of people here to this planet as workers for the mines, just like the one we saw. This mineral is clearly the building block of all his technology. With this, he can sustain eternal life. Now, something happened, where is it, back on Earth? A rebellion or uprising, and the Stargate was buried there. Fearful of a rebellion here, Ra outlawed reading and writing. He didn't want the people to remember the truth.
At what point did this demon worship start to affect you personally, Roger?
Well, it wasn't too long that the priest mentioned to us that the time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us. And there was a number of gifts that you could choose from. See?
Americans are asking, why do they hate us? They hate what they see right here in this chamber. A democratically elected government.
Number 10, deal with the use of slogans such as equity, liberty, fraternity into the mouths of the masses in psychological warfare. Boy, if that isn't Bill Clinton, I never saw it, never heard it before. That man is unbelievable. As former Congressman Denemeyer describes him, he's a draft-dodging, womanizing, pathological liar. And he certainly fits into item number 10. Number 11 dealt with war, number 11 theory and goal. In 1773, Adam Weishaupt set down policies that were publicly announced in 1939, folks. 1773, publicly announced 1939 by Britain and the United States. And the war should be directed so that the nations on both sides are placed further in debt and peace conferences conducted so neither combatants obtain territorial rights. Yalta. Perfect example. Stalin, Roosevelt, Winston Churchill after World War II. Number 12 told those present that they must use their wealth to have candidates chosen to public office who would be obedient to their demands and would be used as pawns in the game by the men behind the scenes. The advisors will have been bred, reared, and trained from childhood to rule the affairs of the world. We have that today without any question. The men behind the scenes. Number 13, control the press. If you heard my lecture yesterday on Oklahoma City, I documented that the mainstream media is being controlled by the big power people, by the phony politicians, by the bureaucrats, without any question about it.
Now a question. What have Herbert Hoover, Art Linkletter, Jack London, and Richard Nixon all had in common? Well, they've all been members of the exclusive all-male Bohemian Club in California, where every year at this time the elite from around the country get together for 2.5 weeks of fun and games.
Among its members are businessmen like Leonard Firestone and Edgar Kaiser, and political figures like Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz. President Reagan, Vice President Bush, and Defense Secretary Weinberger are members of other camps. Richard Nixon is a Bohemian, and so are high-ranking executives of such companies as Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America. Privacy is one of the Grove's most cherished virtues. Members may not photograph, record, speak, or write about activities at the retreat. While many public officials are Grove members, the press is a distinctly unwelcome guest.
We're from ABC News.
Get back there.
Can we talk to somebody in there?
Get back there.
golden holiday has ended. We shall meet thee and fight thee as of old, and some of us prevail against thee, and some thou shalt destroy. But this too we know. Year after year within this happy grove, our fellowship bends thee for a space. Thy malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free. We shall burn thee once again. Not with these flames. Begone, dull care. Fire shall have its will of thee. Begone, dull care. And all the winds, make merry with thy dust. Fill fellowship's eternal flame. Once again, midsummer sets us free.
What do you want me to talk about?
Yeah.
A fraud? No, it wasn't a fraud, but I'll be glad to talk to you if you'll shut up and let me talk.
A fraud?
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you a couple of stories about fraud. The Bohemian Club, as you say, the Bohemian Club, that's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
Sir, also, are you a member of Skull and Bones, College and Bush? Are you in the same secret society?
That's all right. Let me answer this question.
Whoa! Is that help me? Help! I can't do it!
It's so tickle we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322. First of all, he's not the nominee, and look, I look forward. Are you prepared to lose? No, I'm not going to lose.
So that's where they have the ceremonies in the outdoor part of it. Part of it was indoors, so we only got to see the outdoor part. Right. We only got to and listen to the outdoor part. God only knows what went on indoors. And what did you hear? What was it you know? You managed to get this unique. Oh, it was disgusting. It was gross. I mean, they were pretending to murder people. What was the tone of it, though? Was it jokey or was it quite... No, it wasn't jokey at all. It was sick. That's about the only way I could describe it. It was sick.
What you're hearing is the first recording ever made of the Skull and Bones initiation ceremony. It has never been broadcast before. 15 new members of the club are being introduced into the macabre rituals of Skull and Bones by the senior students who are about to graduate. The club has what some might see as a strange fascination with death, skulls and bones. There's the chants too, difficult to hear first of all, but including the devil equals death and death equals death.
the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
Pike, who's probably the most famous Freemason of all time, he was a Mason who simultaneously occupied 3 different positions. He was the head of Washington, D.C. Masonry, he was the head of American Masonry, and he was the head of World Masonry. Albert Pike wrote the book Morals and Dogma. It was published in 1871, and is used in all Scottish Rite initiations to explain the crass philosophy. It's been called the most important book of Freemasonry. It's been called the Bible of Freemasonry, and it's given to every 4th degree Mason, this book. And it's also recommended in every issue of the Scottish Rite Journal. Each month it recommends to read Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike says in Morals and Dogma, quote, "The Mason is familiar with the doctrine that the Supreme Being is a center of light." And what is this light that the Masons are talking about? The answer can be found on page 321 of Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Quote, "Lucifer, the light bearer, Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light? Doubt it not," end quote. And on page 324 he repeats the thought. He says, quote, "A devil, the fallen Lucifer, or light bearer." He identifies Lucifer as being the devil. And it's you may repeat it to the brethren of the 32nd, 31st, and 30th degree. The Masonic religion should be, by all of us initiates of the high degrees, maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. Yes, Lucifer is God, and the true and pure religion is the belief in Lucifer, end quote.
These are men who are extremely super high-level occult masters who are selected, each one of them, to reign over a continent. These men, in return, report to a group that's called the Seven. And these 7 are very, very powerful fallen angels. They're what the Bible calls principalities. And they, in turn, report to the great architect of the universe, Lucifer himself.
What I would say to people is, if you are going to judge what this state of consciousness would do on the basis of what you would do, then you're going to lose the plot from the first, because you have a level of compassion, you have a level of empathy, that's the word, empathy, with people who suffer the consequences of your actions. That empathy is what balances out your behavior towards someone else, because you have empathy with the consequences for them. You remove that empathy, and this controlling consciousness has no empathy, not even with itself, never mind its victims and its targets, because they are as ruthless with each other as they are with the human race. You take away that empathy, and there are no fail-safe mechanisms to block extreme behavior. So, the people who run America wouldn't kill 3,000 of their own people. What? They'd have a party.
Who knows if he's hiding in some cave or not. We hadn't heard from him in a long time. And the idea of focusing on one person is really indicates to me people don't understand the scope of the mission. Terror is bigger than one person. And he's a person who's now been marginalized. His network is, his host government has been destroyed. He's the ultimate parasite. who found weakness, exploited it, and met his match. He is, you know, as I mentioned in my speech, I do mention the fact that this is a fellow who is willing to commit youngsters to their death, and he himself tries to hide, if in fact he's hiding at all. So I don't know where he is. Nor do, you know, I just don't spend that much time on it.
One of the great mysteries of the UFOs isn't seeing them, is trying to figure out where are they when you don't see them. Some people say, well, they're from another galaxy. Most physicists will debunk that for lots of reasons. They seem to pose that way, but for lots of, if they came, you know, if there are that many coming from another galaxy, you think you'd sense the traffic. We'll come to that with some more reasonable explanations, and you're going to discover the two top researchers in the last century, really, is Jacques Vallée, France, and J. Allen Hynek, the American. Now, J. Allen Hynek was head of astronomy at Cornell, and he set out to debunk this nonsense about UFOs, and he became one of the most ardent, competent, balanced researchers in the trade. J. Allen Hynek, he died a few years ago. Both of these respected researchers came to the conclusion that they're not intergalactic. Lots of physics, there are a lot of physics rebuttals to that conjecture. They both argued that these things are demonic. Their term.
Suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art?
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone, so give us something quick.
Okay, okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
Her little pastime was calling up, supposedly filling the sky with UFOs and watching everybody's excitement. And some of the most outstanding sightings were in the early 70s in Ohio. And she used to laugh about it because she'd be standing in a circle out in the field somewhere calling up demons. And that's all they were angels of light.
playing games in the sky. Remember, a demon, get the little spooky picture. There are a fallen angel, an unclean spirit. They can assume any form or go into anything.
And many of the other powerful people in our government are Illuminists, and some of them may not have even actually been Masons. But they were so powerful that it was seen that they could be a worthy part of the conspiracy.
The time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us.
They want to drive Israel out of the Middle East. They want to drive Christians and Jews out of vast regions of Asia and Africa. These terrorists kill not merely to end lives, but to disrupt and end a way of life. With every atrocity, they hope that America grows fearful, retreating from the world and forsaking our friends. They stand against us because we stand in their way. We're not deceived by their pretenses to piety. We have seen their kind before. They are the heirs of all the murderous ideologies of the 20th century. By sacrificing human life to serve their radical visions, by abandoning every value except the will to power, they follow in the path of fascism, Nazism, and totalitarianism. And they will follow that path all the way to where it ends, in history's unmarked grave of discarded lies.
He says, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now hindereth will hinder until he be taken out of the way. And then shall the wicked one be revealed, whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. The wicked one is going to do miracles.
We began to investigate and find out where in the body does the temperature change the most rapidly.
Și așa că ne-am dus și am făcut cercetări să vedem în care parte a corpului temperatura se schimbă cel mai mult.
We spent over $1 million in taxpayer money.
Am cheltuit $1.000.000 în proiectul acesta din banii celor care plătesc taxele.
And when the results came back, it was determined that there were two places in the body that were ideal for the microchip.
Astfel am ajuns la concluzia că erau două locuri în corpul omenesc care sunt ideale pentru a plasa acest microchip.
One was just below the hairline on the forehead.
Una era chiar lângă păr, pe frunte.
The other place was the hand, the right hand preferred, because most people are right-handed.
Alt loc era pe mâna dreaptă, pentru că majoritatea oamenilor.
They told me not to read the book of Revelation.
Și mi-au spus să nu citesc cartea Apocalipsa.
Then one day I came to Revelation 13, verse 16.
Odată am ajuns să citesc în Apocalipsa, capitolul 13, versetul 16.
And he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Și-au făcut ca toți, mici și mari, bogați și săraci, slobozi și robi, să primească un semn pe mâna dreaptă sau pe frunte.
I didn't like what I saw. And I said, God, this isn't it. We didn't do it.
Și am spus, Doamne, nu e asta, nu ce-am făcut noi.
He said, go to the Word for 666.
Și Dumnezeu mi-a zis, mergi la cuvântul care e pentru 666. Și Dumnezeu mi-a zis, mergi la cuvântul care e pentru 666.
So notice, not only do we have a red circle, which is a very important symbol in the occult, but it is white in one place. It is the serpent biting its tail, which is an old symbol for Lucifer. This is Lucent Technologies. I have a little story behind this. A good crowd of Christian people are very informed about Lucent Technologies. Traveling across the country, especially in Little Rock and Denver, I noticed the largest warehouses in the country are owned by Lucent Technologies.
Everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people, and you become a slave, you become a serf to these people. That's their goal, that's their intention. How do I put it? It was like, what do you care about them? What do you care about those people? What difference does it make to you? Take care of your own life. Do the best you can for you and your family. What do the rest of the people mean to you? They don't mean anything to you. They're just serfs. They're just people. You know, it was just a lack of caring, you know, and that's just not who I was. It was just sort of like cold, you know. It was just like cold, you know. And I just said, what's the point of all this? You have all the money in the world you need. You have all the power you need. What's the point? You know, what's the end goal? And he said the end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole society.
I'm not talking really about backwards masking. I'm talking really about backwards messages. In fact, one way to do it, which wouldn't require demons or higher intelligences to intercede, would be just to take straight words, take 7 or 8 words in a song, and reverse them. And then when you played it backwards, you would hear those words. But when you heard it forwards, what would you hear? You'd hear something backwards. It wouldn't make sense. So when people talk about how backwards masking is done in the studio, yeah, that kind of backwards masking is done in the studio. No problem. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you hear music and lyrics forward, and then you hear those same lyrics backwards, and it's a message forward, and those same words are a message backwards. Okay? And we're not talking about 1 or 2 words. We're not talking about something like the cat and playing it backwards and trying to get something like tack backwards and something out of the. We're talking about sometimes over 15 words straight. We're talking on Stairway to Heaven right around 30 words. Okay? And we're not only talking about that, we're talking about a song that wasn't engineered to be heard backwards, but came right from the spirit world automatically. Okay? And then we're talking about if you wanted to make lyrics backwards on a song, you're going to mess up that song forward pretty bad, right? Well, Stairway to Heaven is the most popular song in rock and roll. So this destroys any kind of argument that comes against it. And what destroys it more is the lyric forward often has everything to do with the lyric backwards. And to take it even further, you can hear a lot of these same things on live albums backwards. Because it's the demonic spirits using these human beings. Do you understand that? So let's listen to it. Remember, first of all, that they were invoking Satan, that they've got it from Satan, and listen to what you hear backwards. Forward. Your stairway lies on the whispering wind. Forward it says, and your stairway lies on the whispering wind. Backwards it says, because I live with Satan. Listen carefully. Raise your hands if you heard that. Quite clear, quite obvious. There's a lot more. Backwards it says, here's to my sweet Satan. Did you hear that? Listen carefully. It says, I want to live it backwards, like the Zep, whose power is Satan. Did you hear that? Then it says, he will give you 666.
Was that I got 7 years in which the devil would give me anything I wanted. He'd given me wine, women, song, dope, power, you name it, I'd have it. Then at the end of those 7 years, he got to kill me and take me to hell. What a deal. Anybody want to sign up? Yeah, you see, you got to understand something. The satanic doctrine here is that hell is not what we believe it is, or what the Bible teaches it is. The satanic doctrine is that hell is this incredible party.
Hey, Satan! Playing my shoes! Playing in a rockin' band!
Jim Morrison, too, was into Aleister Crowley. And right here, I want to show you a picture on the back of one of his albums. And here you see Jim Morrison, and under him you see a little statue of Aleister Crowley. And Jim Morrison, too, was into demonism and admitted that he was possessed by spirits.
Also in the street plan of Washington, you find pentagrams. Symbols are not in themselves negative. The five-pointed star, the pentagram as we call it, it's not in itself negative. Just as the swastika in its original form is not negative, it was just a symbol of the sun. Other things too, probably. What the Nazis did, however, was take the swastika and turn it round to indicate the negative. It's what they call reverse symbolism in Satanism. So what they do with the pentagram, which is why it's become a satanic symbol, is to turn it upside down, so it's pointing down. Reverse symbolism. It's the same with the dove, Semiramis. To the general population, the dove equals peace, love, and all this stuff. Reverse symbolism, the dove equals death and destruction.
You've got the ancient gods, which were translated into God, which are worshipped by the religions unknowingly, most of them. Same with the secret societies. And the same gods, demonic entities as they're called in this case, that are worshipped by the Satanists, are the same gods that are worshipped by the secret societies and the religions. Unknowingly. In Satanism, it's knowingly. And these gods, these non-human entities, operate just outside the frequency range of human sight, what is known as visible light. It's so important for people to understand that when they look through their eyes, they're not seeing everything that exists in the space they're looking at. We call space. You know, they don't use these pentagrams and stuff just for fun. I mean, some of them might, you know, the lower ones don't really understand it, but the ones that are really involved, that understand the way reality works and how you can manipulate it, these pentagrams and these various symbols used in Satanism, like the reversed pentagram is the classic satanic symbol and the circle around it. They are vibrational fields. That's why they do these rituals, and the entity can enter this reality, the range of visible light. In other words, what we can see within that vibrational field, and suddenly the gods appear. And these gods, as they're perceived, feed off human energy.
They apparently are powerless except to the extent they can embody some person. The demons apparently are disembodied spirits looking for embodiment. The angels don't have that problem.
And the priest went on saying that the plan of Satan to deceive the human family this way He says it's the most intriguing thing to his mind. And he went on saying how it was going to be brought about. He said that a fellow by the name of Darwin and another fellow by the name of Thomas Henry Huxley would be used by the spirits because in their childhood they had been hypnotized by medical doctors. And they figured that they would be real good subjects to lead the people into this belief that they had, that Satan wanted to bring into people's lives.
Now, what were those 3 points again, Roger? The 3 things were, number 1, that they did not want Satan did not want the human family to think that he or his angels existed.
Right.
The second point that you made had to do with taking control of people's minds.
That's right.
The third point was what?
Was to destroy the Bible without burning it.
Okay.
See.
And what was the strategy on that?
On that, it was very interesting. Because after the Great General Council, it was decided that Satan would tutor Charles Darwin personally in setting up the principles of his theories of evolution. He was tutored by Lucifer himself, fallen Lucifer. And at that time, it was understood, Satan and his spirit counselors understood, that if a person was led to believe in the theory of evolution, it would, in his life, destroy completely the creation week of the Bible, the fall of man, and plan of redemption. It would do away with it.
In one fell swoop.
Yeah. He said the supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits. They're fallen angels. They're beautiful beings.
Just set it out, just like that.
Oh, yeah. Because it gives the demon spirits an opportunity to impersonate the dead. She said her voice went through me. The power.
Sharing your bed. I didn't say I slept in the bed. Even if I did sleep in the bed, it's okay. I am not going to do anything sexual to a child. It's not where my heart is. I will slit my wrist first. I would never do anything like that. That's not Michael Jackson. I'm sorry. That's someone else. That's someone else.
As God has shown us by turning stones to bread. Has God turned stones to bread? That's a lie. In fact, that's a quote of Satan right out of the Bible. Because the scriptures say, Satan says, turn these stones to bread.
Number 6, the power of our resources must remain invisible until the very moment when it has gained the strength that no cunning or force can undermine it.
And I want you to let them know that if there is any terrorism, we know who to blame. The point is, if any terrorism comes, it's from this government.
Justice and cruelty have always been at war, and we know that God is not neutral between them.
And with Lucifer, the fallen cherubim, he's very smart. He's going to win, and Christ's going to abdicate the rights of the planet. He's going to resurrect his people, have established his kingdom to last for ever and ever. God won't be able to destroy him because it would be against God's, the Creator's nature to destroy Lucifer. And fire decided. He said, spirits now, even spirits, have the capacity now to outlive fire. He says, you don't believe it? Go to India or some of those countries where they have firewalkers. And it's done by the power of demon spirits. These people are energized by demon spirits, so they can walk on those hot coals without burning themselves.
And this is what the high priest said.
And he says, if you want to use fire, you can use it. It's not going to hurt anybody. So that's the way they believe.
So this high priest was almost talking to your group in an evangelistic fervor.
Oh yeah, because he figures that he's going to be one of the higher ups in the great kingdom.
The Cloven Hoof 2 was a black pamphlet, and in that were instructions either for your group or plans that the church or what we refer to as the Illuminati were planning on doing. Now you need to understand that the Illuminati, to a Satanist, you're told that they are very powerful satanic spiritual beings. One of the steps on that plan said this: we will infiltrate the education and media system. We will find a way to make evil look cute. We will seize and capture the minds of all youth. We will implant within them satanic and Luciferian doctrine, theology, and ideology until we have captured the minds of every individual.
It is not all still thou waitest with us, with this our chosen obligation, to fight thee as old, and some of us prevail against thee. Some thou shalt destroy.
You can actually toss those into a fire, and as they're burning, you'll see little red spirits come up in those flames every time. Those are known as fire spirits.
I believe that it has everything to do with what happened and what is going on. Genesis chapter 11. The tower appears as the number 11. Each tower is exactly 110 stories tall, which is 11 times 10. They were destroyed on September 11th. The first tower was hit by what flight? 11. But I call the Illuminati those men or women, but it's primarily men, who are working behind the scenes, who are illuminated to the secret plan. In other words, these guys, these are people on this earth who know that they are actively promoting a plan to enthrone Lucifer on planet Earth.
Very educated class. Architects, doctors, lawyers, priests, brokers, and the leisure class.
These are people who have made pacts with the devil.
That's right. It's really the best, the more accurate way of describing it would be that they have indulged themselves in the worship of the goat, of the prince, of the serpent, of Satan, of Lucifer, and they lead perfectly normal lives. They're jewel merchants. They travel. They're prominent in their own way, but they do have this indulgence.
The belief is that everybody was created to be happy forever, and God wants everybody to enjoy heaven, the joys of heaven, the perpetuity of heaven, the peace of heaven, and the ecstasy of heaven. The demons, excluded from that and barred from it because of their rebellion, want to make sure that as many human beings as possible don't attain it.
Giant battle.
That's right. When you find some, you know, the typical things of somebody throwing themselves on the ground and cursing and spitting and protesting and defecating, urinating, and all sorts of protest. What they're doing is protesting, saying, "Help me."
Yes.
Help me. The perfectly possessed, we call them the perfectly possessed, are those that are completely at peace. And I've known several of the perfectly possessed, and I avoid them like the pest. And you know them only by almost accidental means. Sometimes they're perfectly normal, by the way, and they've got great business property. They're married, they have children and wives, and they put down responsible jobs. There's nothing wrong there. Now and again, just now and again, it's as it were a veil is drawn aside, and you see somebody you don't know at all. You just don't know this person, this man, this woman, and there's a completely alien look, a completely alien attitude, and they breathe alienation. And you know then, if you have a nose for it, you know then that they're perfectly possessed and there's nothing to be done about them.
of the milestones in my occult career were accompanied by UFO sightings. I've probably seen at least a dozen or more UFOs in my life, some of them very close. And now, all of a sudden, just in the last couple of years, we're seeing a new wave of media attention for the UFOs. We had one in the 50s where, there were all these flying saucer movies, flying saucers attacked the Earth, the day the Earth stood still, Earth versus the flying saucers, and on and on and on. And now we're seeing another one. And, we have TV shows like The X-Files and Dark Skies. We have, movies like Independence Day or Species. What is Satan trying? Because we know Satan owns the entertainment industry, amen? He's the prince of the power of the air. And so we have to ask, what is he doing? What is the point of all this? And I believe there's a very big point. I believe this is going to be a part of the great deception that is coming down on us as part of the end times. But I want to give you some background. UFOs are not new. What many of you might not know is that they've been around centuries. They're even in the Bible. There's good and bad UFOs in the Bible. How many of you knew that? In fact, God has one heck of a UFO in Ezekiel 1. It's a living machine. Think of that. I mean, I know some of you think your cars are alive, but this is a real living machine. It's a wheel within a wheel with eyes, and it says in the Word of God that wheel has a spirit in it. That means, by biblical definition, it's alive. So that's one of God's UFOs.
And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff, because it says demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it.
They can assume form, including spacemen or solid objects like flying saucers or so on. That's why when they appear on the radar scope and a jet gets up there, they vanish right in front of the palisade, because they're nothing but a spirit.
start up here. In 1784, an act of God placed the Bavarian government in possession of evidence which proved the existence of the continuing Luciferian conspiracy. This explains the previous 9 pages, goes into it in detail. We don't have time to do it completely. Conspiracy. Adam Weishaupt, a Jesuit-trained professor of canon law, defected from Christianity and embraced the Luciferian ideology while teaching at Ingolstadt University. In 1770, the money lenders who had recently organized the House of Rothschild retained him to revise and modernize the age-old protocols designed to give the synagogue of Satan ultimate world domination so they can impose the Luciferian ideology upon what remains of the human race after the final social cataclysm by use of satanic despotism. Weishaupt completed his task on May the 1st, 1776. It's a communist holiday, isn't it? May 1, 1776. The plan required the destruction of all existing governments and religions. This objective was to be reached by dividing the masses, whom he termed goyim, meaning the human cattle, into opposing camps in ever-increasing numbers on political, racial, social, economic, and other issues. The opposing sides were then to be armed, and an incident provided which would cause them to fight and weaken themselves as they destroyed national governments and religious institutions. In 1776, Weishaupt organized the Illuminati to put the plot into execution. The word Illuminati is derived from Lucifer and means holders of the light. Using the lie that his objective was to bring about a one-world government, to enable men with proven mental ability to govern the world, he recruited about 2,000 followers.
No one would help me, even though there was a prosecution going on. They said if you ever bring up satanic ritual abuse, your credibility is lost and you'll just be a kook and it doesn't exist and it's not organized in America. Just focus on child sexual abuse. So I took my children to a child sexual abuse hospital, and while they were being treated, and I had legal custody of my children, and my husband and his lawyers and the judge found out my children were in an expert hospital. They confiscated my house, everything I've ever owned, from my baby pictures to my clothes. I walked away with literally the clothes we had on our backs. Took my cars, my federal post office box mail, my income, my assets. I lost everything by taking my children to an expert on child abuse. It was trying to stop me from what my children could disclose from being uncovered. And she showed me the drawings that the children were doing in her office. And they were of blood sacrifice, of people cutting their arms and drinking blood in chalices, of chalices with devil heads, and on and on and on. It includes group sex. It includes children being killed. And I remember I just felt like my guts were just punched out of my body. I did not know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I called every organization in the country asking for help. Children's organizations, and no one wants to acknowledge satanic ritual abuse. His mom had taken him to protect him, and they were found, and I had been underground for 3 years, by the way. The mother and this little boy were found. The little boy was taken to a basement. He was crucified alive. First he was skinned.
Belial, a mighty king created next after Lucifer, appears in the form of a beautiful angel seated in a chariot of fire and speaking with a pleasant voice. He fell first amongst the superior angels who went before Michael and other heavenly angels. He distributes preferences of senatorships, causes favors of friends and foes, and gives excellent families familiar. He must have offering and sacrifices made to him. Excellent. Number 15, create industrial depression and financial panic, unemployment, hunger, shortage of food, Use this to control the masses or the mobs, and use the mobs to wipe out all those who dare to stand in the way. Well, I'll tell you right now, every expert I've talked to is talking about food shortage. And it's coming, I'm convinced. Number 17, expound the value of systematic deception. Use high-sounding slogans and phrases and advocate lavish promises to the masses, even though they cannot be kept.
Lampe, Missouri was a place where I heard George Bush and Bill Clinton talking, where, from the point of view I had, they certainly were friends, and they didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's something for the, a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhere to because they had exactly the same agenda, and that was for bringing in this New World Order. I heard George Bush talking at that time. He was talking to Bill Clinton, and I've just photographically recorded it and wrote it verbatim in our book, that when the American people became disillusioned with Republicans leading them into the New World Order, that Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, was going to be put into the office of president. This was decided in 1984. Actually, I'd heard about it even prior to that, but that, as of 1984, they were already discussing it as an absolute fact.
Number 20, establish huge monopolies toward world government control. We're seeing that today, the huge monopolies. Number 21, use high taxes and unfair competition to bring about economic ruin by controlling raw materials, organize agitation among the workers, and subsidizing competitors. GATT, NAFTA. Number 22, build up armaments with police and soldiers sufficient to protect our interests. Number 24, infiltrate into all classes and levels of society, of government, for the purpose of fooling, bemusing, and corrupting the youth members of society by teaching them theories and principles that we know to be false.
Operation Northwoods, the plan called for innocent people to be shot on American streets. This is the Pentagon. For boats carrying refugees fleeing Cuba to be sunk on the high seas. For a wave of violent terrorism to be launched in Washington, D.C., Miami, and elsewhere. People would be framed for bombings they did not commit. Planes would be hijacked using phony evidence, all of which would be blamed on Castro to justify an invasion of Cuba 40 years ago.
If you're talking about how we're controlled, how the few control the many, if you can suppress the information that people receive in terms of what is possible, you to the same rate suppress their perception of what is possible. Okay, now once you have accepted that what we're told is possible is how it is, then you're living in a box that big. So anyone that starts to talk about things that are beyond that perception of possibility, you immediately dismiss them as crazy. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. A few centuries ago, when people said the Earth was a sphere, they were perceived as crazy and dangerous. And one of the reasons was that if you lived on the bottom of a ball, you would fall off, right? Now, once you introduce the law of gravity, what appears at first sight to be a nonsensical idea becomes perfectly logical. However, if you suppress at that time knowledge of the law of gravity, then people are going to dismiss the truth because they can't perceive that the truth can be possible. And when you're talking about entities that shapeshift, that appear and disappear, UFOs that appear and disappear, if you program the population to believe that this world is all there is, that this is a solid world of solid individual objects, then the idea of things appearing and disappearing or shape-shifting from one state to another, to that sense of perception, is totally ludicrous. But once you introduce the suppressed knowledge...
Okay, well, what we're thinking of as aliens are, they're extra-dimensional beings.
If there are that many coming from another galaxy, you'd think you'd sense the traffic. And so the conclusion from that both J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée and others have come to is that they're hyperdimensional, that somehow they come from another dimension periodically.
One of the matters that I developed information about was an individual I learned about was Aleister Crowley. He likes to have his name pronounced Crowley to rhyme with holy. And the Satanists today, and for the number of years in the past, have basically used his philosophy and his writings as a guide. And so let's talk about some of his writings and teaching. And here on page 94 of his book, it would be unwise to condemn as irrational the practice of those savages who tear the heart and liver from an adversary and devour them while yet warm. In any case, it was the theory of the ancient magicians that any living being is a storehouse of energy varying in quantity according to the size and health of the animal, and in quality according to its mental and moral character. At the death of the animal, this energy is liberated suddenly. The animal should therefore be killed within the circle. We're talking about the Satanic circle. And now listen to this sentence, folks, closely. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable system. We're talking about human sacrifices.
We have quote after quote after quote who he was serving and how he was serving his god Satan. He read the book of Revelation, and he read about the coming new world order under Antichrist, and he wanted to be, he said, he wanted to get in touch with Satan personally and become his right-hand man. The movement would take off in the United States like no place else. And Aleister Crowley said what he needed to do was to get a hold of the youth.
And to gain entrance into the 7 gates of hell.
So a concert is an act of worship for you?
Exactly. It's a focal point to express my Satanism.
Do you believe in demonic possession?
Of course.
Are you possessed?
Of course.
Later says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am? Well, I said, you must have had some good luck. Well, he says, there's no such thing as good luck. He says, there's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation. We worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven.
How can the devil say so? What are you talking about? Man, the devil in me. But then hell I did Christ. I don't care if it ain't what you believe. His word's written in the Bible.
Well, wait a minute.
And his blood, he's there.
And then before you know it, according to Revelation 14, everybody that takes the mark of the beast will be damned in fire and brimstone, it says, forever. And the smoke of their torment rises up forever and ever.
Like, how come that this explanation, at the very bottom line least, is as credible as the other two? How come the other two get guaranteed airtime, often no questions asked, here's your airtime, say what you like, and the alternative to both of them is ridiculed, condemned, or suppressed by reflex action? The answer that I came up with was that clearly some people don't want the public to have access to this information. But who and what and why?
Our Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel.
Upon further research of the ritual you just witnessed, it becomes clear it is a mixture of the Babylonian Canaanite cult of Moloch fused with ancient Druidic rites, where you have the female side of Satan, which they first call out to in the she, and then towards the horn god with the he, mixed with Masonic rites from Scotland.
It is not all that we know thou waitest for us.
They gain control of the world by bankrupting their own businesses. The Illuminati owns most, I would say 99 9/10 of the stores that you walk into and shop and the gas stations you go to. And they are going to destroy them on purpose. They are in the process of buying up over the last few years all the stores they don't own. They bought up grants, they bankrupted. They just bought up 2 guys, and you can watch for them to go out of business. And they keep in business the ones that they've always owned, and they are going to bankrupt them before long and cripple them and destroy them. And the idea of taking over is to bankrupt the whole world where nothing is of any value and the currency does not exist anywhere, and then come back and solve all the problems.
One message that I have, and I think we all share, is that we want you to succeed. Whether we're Democrat or Republican, we care deeply about this country. And to the extent we can, we look forward to sharing our experiences with you. All of us who have served in this office understand that the office itself transcends the individual. To watch the child they raised ascend the steps of the Capitol and take his oath to uphold the Constitution of the greatest nation on the face of the earth.
It is not all that
Remember, a demon, get the little spooky picture. There are a fallen angel, an unclean spirit. They can assume any form or go into anything.